All right, welcome everyone. So hopefully you all can see the title slide here, the case for UEFI boot on ARM-powered IoT devices again for about the millionth time. So I'm David Tischler. Folks from the community probably have seen me around at a couple of Linaro Connects in the past. I founded and still operate a small startup by the name of MiniNodes. And thank you, Axel. I see confirmation in the chat. You can, in fact, see me. I'm not talking into thin air. That's good news. So after you just saw Samir present and Vincent present on the need for standards, I'm going to give one slightly different alternative spin on these need for standards. And I also realized I'm the final speaker of the day. So if you're still here watching, thank you. I appreciate it, because I know in the real life events, by the end of the day, you know, it's a struggle. So I appreciate it. All right, so let's get going here. The good news is I was targeting about 25 minutes with some time for questions, but we might end up a little bit quicker. So as I mentioned, yet another take on why standards matter. And fair warning, I know that you're all engineers, but this is not actually a technical talk. It's more of a story about attempting to bring up a device, actually this device, on a Yocto-based OS. And that board is a Rockchip SoC, and we're going to talk through that and talk about some dollars and cents. But first, like any good presentation, especially at the end of the day, I wanted to get in a little bit of buzzword bingo and talk about what the future in, say, 5 to 10 years from now looks like. So obviously, you guys already know it's the quantum, hyperscale, blockchain, AI, Yocto powered, correct, John? Distributed serverless multi-cloud Kubernetes architecture. But the point is this. Really what I'm getting at is, you know, for the past couple of years, we've seen all the buzzwords, all the marketing slides, all the keynotes. I mean, one happened this morning about 5G, Edge AI, IoT everywhere. And I don't know, my crystal ball is broken. Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. But I believe that definitely edge computing and the adoption of IoT into regular businesses and usage by mere mortals will probably happen. Sahaj waving as well. So, as I'm saying, IoT and edge computing, it is everywhere. That's true. My $ day job is actually at an IoT fleet management provider, Bolina, Bolina.io. If you're familiar with them, it's a management plane, web-based control panel that allows you to manage and maintain fleets of devices. You know, whether that's 10 Raspberry Pis, 100 Jetson Nanos, 1,000 Toradex or Verisite boards, you know, whatever the case may be, gives you a tunnel back to the devices, to be able to interact with them. It's got root A and root B partitioning for upgrades, and it's all based on Yocto. You can see there's about 60 some odd discrete device types that are supported. The common ones, of course, are Pis, Jetsons, Beagles, and then some others, CompuLab, which we just saw in the previous session, CTI, trying to think, NVIDIA, a couple others in there as well. But anyways, Bolina builds their own OS. It's based on Yocto, and then there's a few tidbits thrown in for the container engine, the VPN link up to the cloud, and some other you know, interactivity bits. But what that really means is that Bolina builds 60 some odd unique OSs, differing bootloaders, different boot partitions, different alignments. Spoiler alert, it's not scalable, not in any way, shape, or form. We also build precisely 2 x86 images, one for the NUC and one that is a generic x86-64, which has more drivers included. The NUC image is slimmed down and only includes the Ethernet, wireless, and bits that are video drivers and things that are already a part of a NUC. So it's a little bit smaller image. Quick screenshot of, it's kind of hard to see actually now that I have it live, but on the right is a list of some of the boards that are supported. But as I already said, you guys are all engineers. I already know that. I'm sort of preaching to the choir here, but you know all about U-boot, device tree, bootloaders, kernel, your board enablement experts. The thing is the other 99.999 carry out the nines as far as you want of the world is not. So as I'm looking forward 5 or 10 years down the road, kind of as I said, and regular business users and regular IT departments want to begin participating in this revolution, we'll call it edge computing revolution. I mean, that's what the marketing slides all say, that the revolution is coming. How are they going to participate? How is that going to go? So let's find out. I'm a business user, but I happen to acquire, like I said, this board right here. This is what's called an iPi. You know, if it doesn't have pi in the name, it's not going to sell. So this is an iPi, stands for Industrial Pi. It is produced by AD-Link. They're a big vendor. They build a lot of stuff. It's a nice little piece of equipment, quite honestly. It's a Rockchip PX30 SoC. It's got 2 gigs of RAM. Comes in various flavors of eMMC. I want to say like 16, 32, 64 gig. It does have USB 3 on it, dual Ethernet, and CAN bus as well. So it does target a more industrial or enterprise grade crowd than your typical Raspberry Pi. And I want to boot Bolina OS on it so I can control the board from the cloud and interact with it no matter where it is. Sounds easy enough. It's just Yocto, right? Well, it turns out I was wrong. You can't just flash something from a USB stick and boot it up. Again, you already know that. I found that out the hard way. So I went to go in Bolina, create a device, add, from the list. It's not in the list, obviously. Okay, fine. What do I need to do to get it to appear in the list or enable it to bring up the OS? All right. I guess I need to start learning about recipes. So I can see here the U-boot recipe. All right, I need to now learn about what these custom Rockchip binaries are. It's a little bit hard to see in that screenshot, but there's a few of them that need to get written into very specific places. And then I have to figure out which one is this, the device tree and the DTS, and start patching in PX30 because only the 3328, 3399, a couple other of their 3288 is already in mainline. So now I'm hunting down patches. Next, I am, which one is this? Nope, still the device tree, bringing in the device tree. Okay, I have to learn about a DTS file, which is not the same as a DTB file. Found that out the hard way too. On and on and on. Again, I'm not an engineer. Finally, all said and done, I get all of the layers, I get all of the recipes correct in my mind, and now I have to figure out where to place these things into specific partitions, and I have to write them at very specific locations. Had to go research that and reverse engineer that process. This is, in my mind at this point, totally crazy. Again, might be a typical day's work for you guys, but businesses are not going to be able to figure this out. So at the end of all of this frustration, I think about it, and it took me about 6 months of reading, research, learning. This was a side project, so it was just on and off work to boot this board up and successfully run my OS of choice. that's not feasible. So I was successful in the end. I got it online again, six-month endeavor, but I now can boot a Yocto-based Bolina OS on that board. But I started to think, I've seen some of these single board computers that are x86 based. What does it take to boot that thing? I had seen in Twitter on my feed go by this little one called the RockPi X, built by Radza. John, I see the comment, DTS plus DTC equals DTB. Yeah, I learned that. So the RockPi X is a little Intel Atom Z8350 in the format, give or take, of a Raspberry Pi. Actually, let me go back one slide. $75. I didn't necessarily want to spend $75, but in the name of science, I was willing to do it. However, it was out of stock. I don't know if it's a limited production run or just everybody's snapping these things up. I couldn't tell you. Either way, I couldn't get it. So I hopped on eBay. And they didn't have any either. But while searching for that Atom Z8350, I found this beauty. And it's here on my desk. It is a motherboard from a little 2-in-1 thingy that HP built. And you can see, $15. What a bargain. Here it is right here. It has a USB port, a USB-C for power, and a mini, or is it micro HDMI out? I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one that's on the Pi 4. So I think that's the micro HDMI. And sure enough, I download the generic x86 image for a Bolina device, flash it to a USB stick, insert the USB stick into this board. I did have to go into BIOS, UEFI, and disable Secure Boot, and then click Boot from USB, and it turned right on. So all said and done, it took approximately 12 minutes, start to finish, versus the 6 months on that other board. And here's a couple screenshots you can see there of it. It came online, Bolina Cloud starts downloading its container engine. It's got a little supervisor that manages the workloads, and away we go. Again, roughly 12 minutes to get it online. So in my role at Bolina, in $ day job, I'm a developer advocate. I watch customers, potential customers, come in and try to bring their IoT projects, their fleets, from prototype to production. And I see it on a regular occurrence where they go through the same exact exercise that I just described. They start out perhaps with a Raspberry Pi and then pivot into what they really ultimately want their target hardware to be. And that could be, like I said earlier, some of the more industrial ones. Perhaps it's this iPi, perhaps it's a Toradex, a Verisite, CTI, any of the other vendors. There's lots of good high quality vendors out there. But if Bolina doesn't already support the board, then they have to do that porting job. And they just can't complete that process because it's difficult. So they begin to build it out, and they're now 6 months behind schedule, or at the 4-month mark, they give up and they go and get Intel NUCs. And that's the truth. I see it on a weekly basis. So, like I said in the beginning, we'll talk about money. We'll talk about some actual dollars and cents here. I performed this exercise part-time for 6 months, and I'm not a true subject matter expert. I hacked my way through it, but I learned a lot, and it was a good science experiment, and I came out with knowledge. Wonderful. But what would a company do? A company is not going to hire an embedded engineer. That's going to cost $100,000 USD. that's not budgeted. They're not going to let their project timeline slip. Who's going to deliver that bad news to the executive team? I'm sorry that we're 6 months behind schedule. It turns out that using the board we chose was a mistake. So they're just going to pivot to an x86 device that just boots. That's literally what's going to happen. Now, I'm going to go ahead and look back into my crystal ball and fast forward 5 to 10 years. You may say my crystal ball is broken, but I'm going to say that ARM is going to lose this edge computing market and x86 is going to win it. Because regular businesses that want to participate can't. However, there is some good news. I'm not only here to deliver doom. You just saw 2 previous talks that focused on standards, IR and ES, and there are more. I'm the last session for today. Grant, if you're still watching, I want to say yours might be on Thursday, if I recall correctly. And I think there's 1 or 2 more still upcoming as well. But the point is this. The SoC manufacturers, the board vendors, integrators, producers, need to work together and get this solved. Right now, there is a total of 1 IR-ready board. It is a Raspberry Pi 4. And I can tell you from experience that Raspberry Pi 4s do not survive well in the wild. You cannot go place them in the canopy of a jungle or inside of igloos in the Arctic environment or any other extreme condition for an IoT device. We need more IR-ready devices that just boot. Even better would be ES, or of course, fully up to SR, would make it even easier, but I'm just saying at a bare minimum, give me IR. Bolina doesn't want to build 60 different operating systems. It's painful. It's not scalable. There are hundreds of boards out there that we would like to support, but just can't, don't have the bandwidth, don't have the time. However, if I can take something right off the shelf, piece of hardware that has UEFI, stick in a USB stick, and away I go, fantastic. Customers can take that and run with it and not have to then pivot to x86 when they can't get their board to work. I just realized that chat is flying by and I have not been watching it. So Sahaj, I don't know if you've been answering questions as they've gone by, but that's actually it for me. So I did come in a few minutes early, and let's go take a look at chat and see if there was anything else. John is laughing at my jokes. Okay, good. Yeah, this is better with a real audience. I can't wait to get back to connect in person, but we'll get there. Intel board came with a pre-installed firmware. Yes, it had UEFI already on it. That is absolutely true. System ready. Why can't, yeah, that's the point. Exactly, Sahaj, you got it. Why can't it come with U-boot or UEFI on an SPI flash ready to go? System ready. Yep. Let's see here. Anything else? 2016.1 no, we don't want that. No, I don't see any actual questions. So Don, I guess it's actually back over to you then, knowing that this is the last session of the day. I don't know if you want to give any, final commentary. I'm sure it was a long, busy day, but tomorrow you guys are back at it.
No, I think that's it. If you're all done, you can say goodbye to everybody and we'll shut her down.
All right. I'll give folks one last second to get anything into chat. Not seeing anything there. Q&A tab. Uh-oh, is there a Q&A tab, and does it have anything in it? Ah, okay. Andy, have you tried U-Boot on bare metal? Have you tried EDK2? I assume you might be referring specifically to this board, or I don't fully understand the question, so might need you to clarify. But, or if you're able to, are attendees able to unmute? I'm not entirely sure. But, and Vincent, thanks, great story. So no, the only thing I have tried on this particular board, and like I say, I was successful in the end, was just, there is a vendor provided, I want to say Debian image, and I was able to hack the bits out that I needed from it and put them into U-Boot, hack together from existing Meta Rock chip support for that PX30 plus the specific DTB from the vendor provided image. And, essentially once I had it all glued together, got it up and running. But, 6 months worth of work for an amateur like me, not exactly ideal. And so with that, I'd say let's go ahead and close it out.